happen. We have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Welcome to Gay USA. I'm Andy Hum.
I'm Ann Northrup.
And in the news this week, we have lots of developments from around the country to report in same-sex marriage cases.
And we will update developments on the controversy over Mozilla Firefox's anti-gay CEO.
Mississippi has passed an Arizona-style anti-gay religious liberty bill. I was going to say bell.
So much for thinking we triumphed in that controversy. The Boy Scouts have expelled their first gay scoutmaster for being out.
Yep. The Christian relief group, World Vision, has reversed itself right after we did the show last week.
Yeah, about 30 seconds later.
And they will go back to discriminating against employees in gay marriages.
Lots of school discrimination stories this week, including one about a girl with short hair who was pushed out of a so-called Christian school in Virginia for being too boyish.
What would that long-haired Jesus say?
I don't know. Is my hair too boyish?
You
I just got a cut. Thank you.
An Oregon woman was charged with murdering her 4-year-old son because she wanted to beat the gay out of him.
Same-sex weddings have gotten underway in England and Wales to great celebration.
And thousands of Ugandans rallied and celebrated about their new anti-gay law in the streets.
Sad. Where do you see the picture from there? Yeah. An Australian named Nori has won the right in court to be legally gender neutral.
And I'll tell you how I felt about Aladdin on Broadway. I kind of actually liked it in many ways, but I want to take issue with what I think are some anti-gay jokes in it. Not appropriate for children or anyone else.
And not unusual.
Okay.
Well, all right, well, we're starting with marriage, I guess.
Well, some good news for the folks in Michigan, because the Justice Department has said we will recognize all 315 legal marriages in Michigan, even if Michigan will not.
Yeah, the governor of Michigan has this strange rationale that since the court decision legalizing same-sex marriage in Michigan has been stayed pending appeal, that somehow that means even though he acknowledges the marriages performed are legal and valid, they're on hold too.
But he doesn't. Then he doesn't recognize it. He doesn't know the difference.
Well,
but
he's
they don't
trying
care.
to have it both ways.
I mean, you know, they have a right-wing attorney general there, Bill Shute. Shute? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay. He defended spending all this money on the state's defense of the gay marriage ban. But he denounced an amicus brief of the traditional youth movement, which has links to white nationalists, saying that brief
filed on his behalf.
Yes, that brief says we're on a slippery slope to polygamy, zoophiles, pedophilia, and incest. They use the word zoophiles.
They're different in Michigan. But the more serious consequence of all this marriage stuff in Michigan is that a woman who was on the news for having been one of the first married legally in Michigan to her wife was identified by people in her neighborhood. 3 guys stopped her in a parking lot as she was on her way home from work, said, "Hey, aren't you that I'll say woman, but I think they used harsher language on the news for being married," and I don't know if she said yes or not, but they beat the hell out of her. This is in Ypsilanti. They just
Why are
they
you
beat
people
her
out there so threatened is what I want to know.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for anyone to announce any consequences of any of this.
Right.
In Virginia, a judge has canceled. There were 2 cases happening simultaneously, the Olsen Boys case and then the Lambda Legal case. And the Olsen Boys case came to a conclusion with the judge saying same-sex marriage should be legal. The Lambda case hadn't been decided yet, was headed for trial. The Lambda attorneys asked to join the Olsen Boys case for appeal purposes. The court granted them that. And now the judge in the original Lambda case has said, we're not going to conduct this trial right now. This issue is on its way to the appeals court. We may not need to do this trial.
Well, the Fourth Circuit has scheduled hearings in the case on May 13th.
Yeah.
In Virginia.
And has cases from every state in the Fourth Circuit pending now in this appeals court.
And then back in the 10th Circuit, the cases are going to be heard this month by the Court of Appeals, with Utah on April 10th and Oklahoma on April 17th.
Yeah, the district that's going to be the trickiest is the 5th district, which is where the Texas case is, because that's the most conservative district at this point. Not that I don't think we can't win. We won the Texas case in the district court, and it's now going on appeal. But I wouldn't hold my breath on that one.
In Missouri, they who passed an anti-gay marriage law back in 2004 by 71%. The out-gay Democratic representative there, Mike Colonna, has filed an amendment to repeal that. And a Republican has filed one of those religious liberty bills in Missouri as well.
We're in trouble on these. We celebrated the win in Arizona, but coming up, news on how we're going backwards on that. In Puerto Rico, a lesbian couple who were married in Massachusetts have filed for recognition of their marriage in Puerto Rico.
As has a couple in Indiana. Lambda has asked a federal court to immediately recognize a legally married lesbian couple. In Munster, one of the women has ovarian cancer, so they're saying this is very urgent. We need to get these folks married.
She, a couple of years ago, when the cancer was first discovered, she had surgery. They removed 100 tumors from her, I think, liver or kidney. In Key West, a male couple applied for a marriage license in Florida and were denied, and they have filed for marriage. There are already a couple of marriage cases
They're
in Florida.
using a private law firm, so everybody is getting into the act here.
Everybody. And in Texas, the Methodist Bishop of North Texas has announced he will not discipline a retired Methodist minister there who officiated at a same-sex union. Now, obviously, it wasn't a wedding, a legal marriage, because it's not legal in Texas, but he officiated at what we used to call ceremonies of union, and the church technically could punish him, but the bishop says no.
This is Bishop Michael McKee, and a viewer who's involved with all this wrote me a note and explained that you know, there are 1,000 United Methodist clergy who have already said they're going to defy the ban on performing same-sex marriages. He says the reason that the church can't move forward on this is because they have a lot of branches in places like Africa where they are being stopped from doing this.
It's true of all these denominations.
Well,
the Anglicans,
in the Catholic Church, the Americans are anti-gay. How's that?
Not all of them. In fact, the Catholic denominations,
I'm talking about the bishops.
Oh, yes, the bishops. Very, very, very anti-gay.
Well, anyway, thanks to Bishop Michael McKee down there in North Texas. He wrote a very nice note.
Okay.
All right.
You got any other?
No, we're going to go to Mozilla, huh?
Okay, Mozilla.
So the story about Mozilla Firefox is that they hired as their CEO this guy, E-I-C-H, how do we say his name?
I think it's Ike. Aish.
All right. Who was the developer of JavaScript, right? He's always a big guy.
You say so.
Yeah, I thought
he'd been working at the company a long time, and the CEO left, and he was elevated to the CEO
the
position.
fuss is that it was uncovered that he made a $1,000 donation to the Prop 8 campaign and supported anti-gay candidates who supported Prop 8, etc. So this is an industry which has a lot of gay people, a lot of liberal people, and some people are saying they don't want to deal with that anymore. OkCupid doesn't want to use Mozilla for their for people who use their dating site anymore.
We had heard last week that that employees were speaking up, which I thought was a pretty brave thing to do. We speak up against the new CEO of the company to say that they don't like his attitudes and record.
They say they feel free to do that. 3 board members resigned, but in an interview, Ike said that they were resigning anyway, they were leaving anyway.
Well, more interestingly in that interview, because he, when this firestorm...
This is on CNET, by the way, if you want to read this whole interview.
When his elevation was announced and people started to react because they knew this about him, he made a statement, I honor everybody, that I will continue all our non-discrimination practices, all our benefit policies. I'm on board with all of this. And so you sort of thought, well, if how much
So he's not a man
relevant?
of principle, I guess.
Well, you wondered where the appropriate line was drawn. But he gave this interview to CNET, and in it, he starts talking about how, well, we have a lot of customers in Indonesia, and they support my point of view, and we have to...
Well, he didn't call it his point of view.
He did at one point.
Well, he said they're on the other side of this issue, too.
He said at one point they're on my side.
Okay. But the point is, he says, and those people leave it outside the door, and I leave it outside the door.
And they have to be represented in this non-discrimination policy, too.
And they don't bring their beliefs into the workplace. But, suppose he had said, I don't think Indonesians should be able to marry. What do you think the Indonesians would say about that? What is his name, Brandon?
Yes.
Brandon, what do you think they would say about that if you said they couldn't marry? I imagine they might not like that.
Well, it's very interesting that a $1,000 contribution to the Prop 8 campaign gets you in this much trouble 10 years later as the CEO.
Well, 10 years? Well, 2008. Anyway.
Is that when it was passed? Only 6 years ago?
Prop
Seems
8?
like a lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot has changed since then, Brendan, and you ought to get with the program. Well,
okay.
I mean, look, people have most people belong to anti-gay churches, right? And synagogues and mosques. So are we going to object about everybody belonging to these organizations? I mean, there may come a time when people will be, Mormons got embarrassed about belonging to a church that didn't let African Americans or black people become elders in the church, right?
Yes.
They got embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
And the reason they got a revelation from God that they had to change this was because they were having trouble functioning in the marketplace with this view. But the Catholic Church gets away with not ordaining women, and nobody, seems to say you shouldn't be a member of that. Well, I would suggest you move on. Unless you're working to change it.
And it was a little shocking to report last week that World Vision had loosened its employment policies to acknowledge that some might be gay and have same-sex married partners.
2 days later.
Was it only 2 days?
2 days.
Was it as much as 2 days?
They reversed it themselves.
With a statement that said they were brokenhearted at the pain and confusion they had caused to their members who were right-wing nuts.
Well, they said they lost about 5,000 sponsors. These are people who give $35 a month to the organization. This guy, Rich Stearns, who I think was some kind of a Presbyterian or something, whatever. He said that people who were handling the call line couldn't handle the stress from the people calling in to scream at them over this.
Yes.
So it's back to discriminating against gay people. Let them bear the stress. Right? That's the way it should be.
This is all at the behest of Franklin Graham, Tony Perkins, and all these other right-wing leaders. And it's just outrageous.
So a gay journalist calls them up and says, well, you're saying you got to adhere to biblical principles. Do you fire everybody who's divorced and remarried? And they won't answer.
No answer.
No answer.
Yeah.
That's something Jesus said. Specifically, Jesus didn't say nothing about us.
Yeah. All right, well, let's, as long as we're talking about religion, let's talk about this law that's been passed in Mississippi, because this is major. You remember that a couple of weeks ago there was this law proposed in Arizona, and corporations got really freaked out about it because they were convinced that by us, that passing this religious freedom law that allowed people and companies to assert that their religious ideals trumped any non-discrimination laws.
If the spirit moves you, you can discriminate.
Yeah.
And this means on any kind of basis that the spirit moves you.
Exactly.
I mean, of course, we
Race.
think it's mostly aimed at us, but
Yes.
obviously against women, African Americans, all that kind of stuff.
Well, it was written
If the spirit moves
specifically.
you.
This was a World Vision type group in Washington, a lobby group that wrote this proposed law and offered it to legislatures around the country. And it was written specifically because of the court cases that said a cake baker had to make if you're in business with the public, you have to, you can't discriminate, and you have to make a cake for the same-sex couple.
Which is not true in Mississippi anyway, because they don't protect gay rights.
Exactly. And not in Arizona as a state either,
But
just in some cities.
Despite the fact that the governor has a gay son, as you told me before we went on the air,
That's the rumor.
It's going to be very hard for him to veto it, because the bill also adds "In God We Trust" to the state seal.
At his request. This is in Mississippi. So we managed to beat
What about
back
people who don't believe in God? Their religious liberty is being violated.
I assume you can claim any religious belief you want. I could claim to be a Wiccan and claim
Whatever.
that things were against my religion.
Right.
I am not a Wiccan.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not at all.
But I mean, we actually got a few votes on this. It passed 78 to 43 in the House and 38 to 14 in the Senate. It's not unanimous the way it is in some places.
No, but it's bad. And
It's horrible.
And we all thought, oh, joy, joy. We beat it in Arizona. This means it's all dead. But in fact, it is coming right back. It passed in Mississippi. It's passed in Tennessee, too. And
Well, Tennessee is a school bill, isn't it?
Religious Viewpoints Anti-Discrimination Act. So students can condemn homosexuality, yes.
Right.
Because, you know, why not?
And in Oklahoma, Representative Sally Kern, you'll remember her, a leading anti-gay bigot, is pushing a similar bill. And then there's Oregon, where the religious liberty bill, Arizona style, will be on the ballot in November. I mean, people are going to have to vote on this, along with a same-sex marriage vote, if that is needed, and the court case hasn't proceeded far enough up there.
And of course, all of this is implicated in the Supreme Court decisions about campaign finance and corporations as people, and again this week,
Free speech, all
yes,
this kind of stuff.
it's
Free
all-
speech, religious liberty.
And the right
Terrible
wing,
decision
the
from
right
the court
wing
this
is
week.
just in a bulldozer going through this country, taking over, and
Well, you know, we
passing this
need to be pushing some of our own agenda, and we're not doing it. We're not. We're on the defensive about everything.
Yeah.
You know, we're not transforming the economies to help average people. We're pushing minimum wage bills, which we need, but that's small potatoes in terms of what this country needs. And we're not being aggressive enough on our side. We've got to find things that back them into a corner and make them vote for us in various ways.
that would be nice.
Yes.
All right.
We don't have a good offense, is what I'm saying.
Meanwhile, the Catholic diocese in Honolulu is going to follow the example of other places in this country and impose a new morals contract for Catholic school teachers.
Yep.
And they are declaring that Catholic schools as a whole are ministries in order to be able to impose this contract.
I want to go back to Hobby Lobby just for 1 second.
Okay.
Because I've done a lot of reading on it this week, and one of the things they point out is that no corporation filed an amicus brief on behalf of Hobby Lobby. They're terrified of Hobby Lobby winning because they will lose some of their protection as individuals who run these companies and things like that in terms of being sued if they're allowed to project these kinds of beliefs. It will subject they worry. It will subject them to liability. It will pierce the corporate veil, is the phrase that would be operative.
Well, don't we expect, most probably, without being able to pin this court down on anything, that they will choose the middle ground of allowing privately held companies to make these kinds of decisions?
Yes, but that's not a soft landing for us. Walmart
saying
is a privately held company by the family.
There's no stock sold?
I believe it's privately held. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. But it is a family-owned company. I'm just saying that that includes a lot of big businesses.
Right.
So it's not good. It would be terrible. No matter, I mean,
Well, we have bemoaned the death of Fred Phelps as taking away one of our weapons because it makes anti-gay bigotry less explicit.
Yes.
But I'm happy to report that the survivors of Fred Phelps at the God Hates Fags Westboro Church.
That's the name of their group.
Yes. Will be attending the NCAA men's basketball Final Four in Arlington, Texas, because of, and again I quote, the newest fag superstar, Jason Collins of the filthy Brooklyn Nets. Now, of course, he's not in college anymore, so they're just fudging this a little.
Any excuse for a demonstration. They have done literally 53,000 in the last 10 years. They are indefatigable, unlike us.
They also seem to have a lot of money. That's always what's interested
Very mysterious.
me.
They only have 70 members.
But they go all over the country all the time.
Get the money?
Exactly.
Where does Joel Osteen get the money?
He asked for it. They give it to him.
Did you read that? They stole $600,000 out of the safe. They figured out that he's pulling in $35 million a year.
Have you ever seen his
yes, I
performances?
Have.
Yes.
He's very moist. He's got tears in his eyes.
He has a big crowd.
He does.
He has a mega church.
Wow, does he have money?
A mega church.
Where does it all go? Well, I wonder if the Westboro Baptist Church will, they're probably mad at the Boy Scouts for letting gay scouts in, but the Scouts have booted a gay scoutmaster. This is the first time that's happened since they changed the policy that says no gay adults, but it's okay for gay kids. This guy's name is Jeff McGrath. He's the leader of Troop 49 there in Seattle. They're saying
former Eagle Scout.
If he had just kept his mouth shut.
I know.
So it's don't ask, don't tell there, isn't it? But he's been with his husband for 20 years. He was invited by this, I think it was a church or something, to do the troop.
Yeah. Yes, and he offered to not be the leader because he knew his being out would be a problem.
He put it up front there, and he wanted the parents to know that he was a gay guy who was running this. He didn't
they were fine with it.
Because being out is the best protection against anybody saying untoward or saying rumors or he's a queer or whatever.
It's not the out gay scout leaders who are molesting
causing
kids.
the trouble.
Yeah. All right. In other religious news, now school-related, let's move to to Lynchburg, Virginia, and the Timberlake Christian School.
We use that word in quotes. Christian.
We do. Sonny Kahle,
K-A-H-L-E, I think it is.
8 years old, was asked to leave the school because she was transgressing gender norms.
Too tomboyish.
Cutting her hair. She cut her hair.
Well, don't we have a video report on this?
We do. We have a local news report, so rather than repeat it, let's go to the videotape.
Jean Jathan is off tonight. A Campbell County girl is being asked to stop attending her private school because she looks and has interests like a boy. Tonight, her family is angry. They don't understand why anyone has a problem with her appearance. WDJ 7's Tim Saunders spent time with the girl and her family today. Tim, why is the school raising this issue?
According to a letter that was sent to the family from school administrators, the girl's appearance is causing the children around her to be confused. But her family says the only ones who seem to have a problem are the adults.
You won't have any problem getting Sonny Kahle to open up about her hobbies. The energetic 8-year-old will proudly show you her collection of coins, hunting knives, and autographed baseballs.
Why do you like collecting those things?
It's fun.
She likes teddy bears and bracelets, but for the most part, she's interested in things that might be considered boy hobbies.
Sonny realizes she's a female, but she wants to do boy things. She wants to play rough, tough.
Doris Thompson is Kahle's great-grandmother, but has raised her since she was an infant. When she turned 5, she asked for a short haircut.
She had hair down to her waist, and she wanted to give it to a little child that had cancer and lost his hair. So I said, that's great. So we cut her hair, And then she started wanting to dress with jeans and a t-shirt. She didn't want her little frilly dresses anymore.
Her appearance started leading to awkward questions. Did kids ever ask you if you were a boy or a girl?
Sometimes.
What did you say to them?
That I was a girl.
Did it hurt your feelings that they would ask?
No.
The issue caught the attention of administrators at Timberlake Christian School, where Cale was a student. The principal sent home a letter last month reminding Thompson of the school's religious affiliation and its right to refuse students who contradict a, quote, biblical lifestyle. In the letter, the principal writes, "We believe that unless Sunny and her family clearly understand that God has made her female and her dress and behavior need to follow suit with her God-ordained identity, that TCS is not the best place for her future education." Thompson was offended by the letter's language and its references to biblical passages about sexual immorality.
To claim that we are condoning sexual immorality in our home is nonsense. We are Christians. We understand the Bible. We know the Bible. Sunny knows it very well. She's accepted Christ.
Thompson says Cale is simply a tomboy and that she's too young to understand sexual orientation or gender issues.
If my child grows up to be a homosexual or transgender, I love that child that much more.
Although she was not forced to leave, Cale is now in public school and no longer attending Timberlake Christian. She wishes things would have turned out differently.
I should just be able to be me and not let them worry about it.
The administrator for Timberlake Christian Schools sent us a statement this afternoon saying that he is heartbroken that Cale's grandparents have decided to make this discussion public. Jeff Abbott said that there is more to this story than what Cale's grandparents are saying at this point, but he can't make any further statements for confidentiality reasons. He says he can't go into further detail. We're going to post his full statement on our website, WDBJ7.com, right after this newscast. Live in the Lynchburg Bedford newsroom, Tim Saunders, WDBJ.
The school has been trying to smear the kid, saying, oh, she's been trying to use the boys' room, this kind of stuff. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
She's 8 years old.
She's terrific, and the grandma's terrific. We love her.
Yep. Sonny, come here and take my place for a while, will you?
And as I said at the top of the show, what would they do about, do they have those pictures of Jesus with the long hair and everything? Isn't that gender inappropriate? I'm being serious.
Well, it's insane
them?
That they are saying things like this.
Right, it's just screwed up. And then there's well, where should we go? We could go to Nashville.
I think we should go to Bedford, Texas.
Okay, you want
to the New Beginnings preschool.
Well, this is a lesbian couple trying to enroll their child in a Montessori school, New Beginnings.
3-year-old son.
And well, we have a video report about that, right?
Yes, we do.
So why don't we show that as well?
Bedford, Texas.
2 Tarrant County parents say their child was turned away from a private Montessori school in Bedford. The 2 moms say it was because of their sexual orientation. But when Channel 8's Marie Saavedra called, she found out that the school had a change of heart. The story is all new tonight.
Yeah, we knew this day was going to come, and
You can't prepare for it, though.
Can't prepare for it, to be rejected.
The life Dawn and Tracy Keller share isn't accepted by everyone, and they know, but say their sons shouldn't have to suffer for it.
Oh, yeah.
This is 3-year-old Landry.
He's a sweet boy.
They want him to start at a Montessori school, and on Tuesday toured New Beginnings in Bedford.
I just knew once he got in the classroom, I said, this is a good place for him.
Dawn loved it and asked a teacher her typical questions.
And then I said, well, do you have any religious affiliation? And the teacher said, no, we have all kinds of people here. And I said, well, he has 2 moms. Is that going to be an issue? And she said, no, that's not a problem.
But it became one an hour later when the phone rang.
It was the director, and she said, we are not going to be able to enroll Landry at our school. She said, we can't enroll him because it's against my religion and we don't live that way. We know there are some schools we can't go to. And you know what? We just go someplace else. That's fine. But that was just the call was pretty devastating.
New Beginnings director is Shemaine Webster, and she confirmed to us she did say those things to the Kellers. As a private school, New Beginnings can turn families away, but that's not what happened after News 8 called. Webster said, the owner of the school does not share my beliefs, and he would like to allow them to submit an application. Webster told us the owner is her father.
It's obviously not a place for him.
The Kellers say thanks, but they'll be looking elsewhere.
It's not like we're out to advertise or anything like that. It's just we want someplace that welcome us just like they do everybody else.
In Bedford, Marie Saavedra, Channel 8 News.
I thought these Montessori schools were supposed to be these big liberal places.
Exactly.
And where is it in the Bible that children must be punished for having lesbian parents?
It boggles
Where
the
is
mind.
it in the Bible? You people, they just hate us.
Move on to a couple of colleges.
Well, I got one more school story in
Okay.
Nashville. A nun from the Sisters of St. Dominic, these are the ones who taught me at Queen of the Most Holy Rosary in Roosevelt, Long Island.
No comment.
Told the kids at Charlotte, it's called Charlotte Catholic High School, that homosexuality was caused by having divorced parents and masturbation, which was not, well, I'm going to say which was not true in my case. Students and parents launched an online petition against the nun. And the diocese said, well, we'll have to have a meeting about this to sort this out. So this is a level of homophobia that even the diocese is uncomfortable with, although it's not making them accept our people.
In Charlotte, North Carolina, a transgender student was stopped coming out of a women's bathroom by the campus police, who thought she looked a little not quite gender normal. At Central Piedmont Community College, was harassed and detained. And so she has filed a complaint against them, and that's being looked at.
Maybe the Justice Department can help with that, because they've launched a training program to improve police interaction with transgender folks all across the country, and none too soon, from what you've heard on this show. The program was designed with the help of the National Center for Transgender Equality.
And there's a dispute at Winston-Salem State University in North Carolina, an historically black college, where Aaron McCorkle, who appears to be a very popular student, out gay and cross-dressing, is running for Mr. Winston-Salem Community College as a junior or senior. He already won Mr. Freshman Winston-Salem Community College, and Mr. Sophomore Community College is
quite a streak.
Top scholar, a Thurgood Marshall Leadership Program recipient, but is being harassed by a local DJ who is making tons of threats and saying, how dare anybody consider voting for this guy? And it's turned into a huge brouhaha there.
Better news from Chapman University in Southern California, where junior Mitch Eby came out to his team on March 18th and was applauded by them.
Football player, defensive end.
Yeah, when he told the room, when he told his roommates, who are also players on the team, they said, nothing has changed in our relationship, but we may have said some anti-gay things in front of you. We're sorry.
We'll try not to do that again.
Right.
A Harlem church said some anti-gay things right out on the street in their sign outside their building. Homos.
Jesus would stone homos.
Yeah. So they did several versions of this sign. So this group of gay activists showed up this last weekend. There's Gilbert Baker in the front with one of his 50-foot rainbow banners, and did a demonstration called "I'm Here for My Stoning."
Yes, as a woman who went up to the door and asked to be stoned by them was told to come back because they didn't have any stones.
We will no longer stand by while evangelical Christian churches misrepresent us.
Right.
But the minister is not backing down. He did a video that basically said, oh, those fags are outside the church. You saw it.
That was awful.
Yeah, it was.
He's unrepentant.
Yeah.
He needs to come to Jesus. And so do these people in Oregon. A mother there allegedly killed her 4-year-old son because she thought he was gay. Jessica Dutro, 25, is charged with murder by abuse, and second-degree assault in the death of her son Zachary in 2012. What they did is they went back to her Facebook messages, and she wrote her boyfriend, Brian Kennedy, that her son walks and talks like it. Ugh! meaning gay, and he pleaded guilty to first-degree murder of the boy last month, and now she's implicated in the crime.
If you really hate your child that much,
give him up.
Give him away.
Give him up.
Find someone who will be happy to have him. Or her.
Okay.
In Maryland, good news. Maryland has become the 18th state to pass a law forbidding discrimination on the basis of gender identity or expression in employment, housing, public accommodations, and credit.
Wow.
That's a good comprehensive law.
In Louisiana, on the other hand, the House committee there killed a bill to protect LGBT folks just from housing discrimination. And boy, did they have a big debate about this, about what the implications of protecting people
of letting
in
gay
housing.
people
live somewhere.
have a roof over their head?
Live somewhere.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Well, see, this is the Fifth Circuit. This is what concerns me. In Congress, Senator Patty Murray of Washington has introduced a bill to forbid colleges that get federal aid from allowing bullying. This aid business is a good route into this. And she did this after meeting with a young man who's an intern at the Victory Fund who talked to her about how he'd been bullied at the University of Houston. And that made an impression on her. Whether the bill will go anywhere is, of course, another question.
We've told you about that big Ninth Circuit case about jury duty and gays and things, the one that gave us heightened scrutiny. Not that it's the first time we ever got it, but this is SmithKline versus Abbott. And Abbott did not appeal that decision because they liked the idea that, we're getting heightened scrutiny, but some of the Ninth Circuit judges want to hear it en banc in a larger group.
It's just one judge who has appealed for this.
Well, so the sides do have to weigh in on it so that they can make a decision about whether they're going to make a decision.
They have to meet and vote. Giving us heightened scrutiny doesn't mean they're looking at us more closely. It means that they look at discrimination against us with a jaundiced eye.
Okay.
So we're happy about that. The NFL owners and executives were having an annual meeting, and Wade Davis, the out gay former football player, came to address them. He was very well received on issues of acceptance and anti-discrimination. And some of the owners said it was the best presentation they'd ever seen on anything.
And I think the owners said that they'd welcome out gay players.
Yes, some of them did anyway. Well, this is all going to come up when Michael Sam comes up for the draft in May.
Okay.
We'll see what happens to him. And they held a mayoral primary in the District of Columbia. Jim Graham, former head of the Whitman Walker Clinic, was on the Democratic ballot. He lost this woman, Muriel Bowser, won in an upset over the incumbent mayor who's under some investigation for corruption, Vincent Gray. But she's going to face in the general election independent David Catania, who used to be a Republican, out gay, good guy. But, running against a popular Democrat, he's going to have a hard time.
Yes.
We mourn the death of Frankie Knuckles, 59, probably of diabetes.
The father of house music, they say.
That's what they say in the obits. He was a very famous DJ in a lot of the gay clubs. And very strange that Alec Baldwin seeking redemption by signing on as an executive producer of this new documentary about Barney Frank called Compared to What? The Improbable Journey of Barney Frank, playing at the Tribeca Film Festival on April 27th. And they're both going to be on a panel. They have bashed each other in the past. And the fact that they're now ending up collaborating on this is strange.
They're both very forceful speakers.
Yes, they are. I guess that's the attraction.
All right, international news, huh?
Yes.
Well, in England and Wales, same-sex marriages got underway at midnight on Saturday, March 29th.
We have pictures of one of the first weddings.
The bill passed in July. The couples could register as of March 13th, so that meant that if you had been married elsewhere, you're married. You were already recognized as married.
Peter and David married there in the chambers.
And there on the left is Peter Tatchell, who was really one of the prime movers around this, because a lot of the groups in England were satisfied with civil unions and weren't pushing hard on marriage, and he pushed them on it.
And there's a little Vine video of the crowd outside. I just wanted to show what a large crowd there was outside while this was happening. It's one of those 6-second repeating videos.
Now, we should point out that there are inequalities in this law. If for instance, you have a pension and you're in a same-sex marriage, they only will go back to 2005 when civil partnerships started to calculate what to give to your spouse, whereas if you marry in a heterosexual relationship, you get the whole thing.
Absolutely.
That's not fair.
No.
And the Bishop of Salisbury there praised couples who got married and sent them prayers and good wishes, but the Church of England is prohibited by law from doing same-sex weddings. The Archbishop of Canterbury said, well, it's the law now, and kind of like he's not going to make a big deal about it.
Well,
but he's not going to do them.
No, but he is not also going to stop his priests from getting, or ministers from getting married, right? I think that's part of the new thing. I think that's part of the deal. In related British news, the Home Secretary has announced that she wants asylum seekers treated better because of the case of a bisexual guy seeking asylum in Britain. I don't even know where he was from, but he was asked by an immigration inspector, what is it about men's backsides that attracts you? Well, you know, they like to ask provocative questions to question your own statement about your sexual orientation.
What if he's not a butt man? You know?
Exactly.
What if he's a leg man?
Exactly.
You know?
Or whatever.
Right. All right. In Italy, the Archbishop of Genoa, we have a picture of him, Angelo Bagnasco, said that efforts by schools to fight homophobia in Italy were akin to totalitarian dictatorship. Parents must defend their children against gender ideology. I agree about that. Stop wearing those red dresses in public, Angelo. Stop it.
He's upset that the government started a public education campaign for gay youth because there'd been so many murders and suicides of LGBT youth. Italy
has always been behind the curve in Europe on a lot of this stuff.
Because they house the Vatican.
You think?
I do.
What a minute, that's in a separate state, Vatican City.
Not so separate. Cross the street and you're in it. But the church objections caused the government to postpone for a day the teacher training they were doing around that.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, in China, a guy named Zhang Zhouhan, 19, is the first gay man to sue his government. He's a Hunan province gay activist. He's challenging the local government's refusal to register his LGBT rights group. The government wrote that homosexuality, which has been legal since '97, has no place in traditional Chinese culture. That's pretty weird.
Please.
Some NGOs do gay work over there, but not in the name of the gay community. So Zhang's group has had to operate as a commercial enterprise with no tax breaks and no ability to get sort of nonprofit funding.
When we were taping last week, President Obama was on his way to meet with Pope Francis, and we were curious whether any LGBT issues would be raised. It turned out that Obama did not directly raise those issues with the Pope. There was some speculation that maybe some of their aides or lower level people did raise some of that, but it wasn't public discussion of the discussion. But on his way there, Obama had been in Brussels, and he gave an address to European youth, which urged people to support LGBT people, immigrants, those who are different, not different from us. But he did not raise it explicitly with Francis.
And then he went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
I mean, he's stiff in Russia. And he's stiff in Uganda and all that kind of stuff and criticizing them, but he goes to Saudi Arabia.
It's follow the money.
Well, I don't imagine he raised LGBT issues there.
No, I don't
In Taiwan,
think so.
The court rejected a gay couple's appeal against a government agency that would not register their marriage.
In Uganda, there was a 5-hour public celebration of the passage of the anti-gay bill. We have a picture of that. And what's really disturbing is the smiling children in the front of the picture who are carrying signs saying thank you, President Museveni, for passing this anti-gay bill.
March 31st was a national day of Thanksgiving for the bill. So President Museveni said at the rally that during this is what he says at the this is a place where it's like gayness is like supposed to not be talked about or anything else. He says gay sex, the intestines come out during gay sex,
Right.
he says. And then he says, this is terrible. And then he says, oral sex is idiocy. The mouth is for eating.
Don't get me
This is what he's
started.
saying at the rally in a country where you're not supposed to talk about these things.
Because no heterosexuals have oral sex.
Oh.
There's some controversy about whether the United States has done enough to condemn this law or try to get it overturned. So the U.S. government is sending people from the Centers for Disease Control and the State Department to Uganda to review the aid package there. Especially since they cut back on or redirected some of that aid and then promptly sent all this military aid to make up for it.
I have to go back to Britain and to the Vatican for a second.
Go right ahead.
A gay Catholic member of Parliament, Connor Burns of Portsmouth there, says we didn't do this,
no.
did we? Yeah. He said he feels unable to take communion after his bishop said politicians who voted for same-sex marriage should be denied the sacrament. He is the co-chair of the Committee on Vatican Relations. He also said that he agonized. He also sees gay guy. He said he agonized over his vote on same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well,
there was that Hawaiian lesbian legislator who voted against it.
Exactly. In Kyrgyzstan, the parliament will vote on a law like Russia has passed about no promotion of non-traditional sexual relations to minors. We're not optimistic about winning that vote.
And we're not particularly optimistic either about what's happening in India, where the Naz Foundation, an NGO, is fighting for LGBT rights, filed what's called a curative petition at the Supreme Court to get them...
Petition.
Did I say? What did I say?
You said position.
Oh, petition at the Supreme Court to get them to undo the damage that they've done back in December. So far, the
when
court...
they recriminalized gay sex.
So far, the court has rejected all review petitions.
Yeah, it's a real long shot because in going back to the court, you're going back to the same justices who recriminalized gay sex.
Well, time has passed.
Asking them
you
to
go back to Brandon
mind.
Ike and over there in Missoula.
He hasn't changed his mind.
And he may decide it's not in the best interest of
I don't think so.
To ban same-sex marriage.
And big victory in El Salvador, where they're letting transgender women vote for the first time. They had prevented them from voting on the grounds that their IDs did not match their appearance because they're not allowed to change their IDs when they change their identity. So this had prevented them from voting, but they've decided, no, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting story out of Australia where a person named Nori, we have a picture of Nori, has won a high court decision to be classified as neither a man or a woman, but as gender neutral. Had gender reassignment surgery from man to woman in '89, but stopped taking hormones. But I wonder who a gender-neutral person is allowed to marry. I mean, everybody's got to be able to marry somebody.
Well,
but now Nori is now gender-neutral.
Right.
So who does Nori get to marry?
In Australia, maybe no one, because they do not allow same-sex marriage, and without a gender marker or definition that would establish opposite-sex marriage.
But certainly, and the courts have always said, you have to be able to marry someone.
The courts are in the process of refiguring all of this.
Okay.
I'm saying the law in Australia currently mandates
might be a good case,
sex
Nori,
marriage.
if you choose to get married.
All right, moving on
marry
to
who you
AIDS
want
news.
to. Marry who you love, Nori.
Yeah. Bulletin from Los Angeles County, which has just put out a warning that there is a meningitis outbreak among men having sex with men. They found a cluster of 8 cases. They mostly young men, but some older, mostly men who are HIV positive, but not exclusively. And so they're putting out an alert that people should get vaccinated against meningitis.
Yeah, we pretty much thought we beat that a couple of months ago, but it's back.
It pops up.
In Massachusetts, out gay Representative Carl Shortino, who lost his race for the U.S. House, is leaving the state legislature to head the AIDS Action Committee of Massachusetts and he took the opportunity to come out as HIV positive at that time. He hadn't been out before.
A little good news from New York State, where the state budget has passed with the inclusion of the new law that says that people with HIV or AIDS who are on disability payments, fixed incomes, do not have to pay more than 30% of their income for rent. Some of them had been paying as much as 73% of their fixed income
there were a lot of,
for rent.
A lot of people in New York paying more than half their income in rent.
Yeah, but they also have higher incomes, a lot of them. This is expected to affect 10,000 clients of the HIV and AIDS Services Administration, and will allow some people to leave shelters and go back into apartment living.
It is a terrific breakthrough. We ran the tape of then Senator Tom Dwayne, who was HIV positive, arguing for this and winning the Senate vote. And it passed the legislature, and then Governor Patterson, our pal, at the behest of Mike Bloomberg, vetoed the bill.
Exactly. Liberal Governor Patterson. A couple of things coming up next week. We've been telling you all along about these sessions at ACREA on living with HIV. Next week's session on Wednesday, the 9th, from 1 to 3 p.m. is HIV and your immune system. These are popular educational meetings at ACREA at 575 8th Avenue. You can, and they hand out Metro cards and snacks for participants. You can call 212-924-3934 for information about that. Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. at ACREA, A-C-R-I-A. Okay. And on Thursday at from 3 to 5 p.m. At GMHC, they're having a town hall meeting at 446 West 33rd. They're in search of a new person to run that organization.
And on Thursday, April 10th at 5:30 p.m., Ann Northrup is going to be making a presentation at NYU at
31 Washington Place. 5:30, the public is invited. I will be lecturing on, how liberal arts students can change the world. Well, and have a great time doing it.
If anybody can inspire them, you can, and I'll be there, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Free and open to the public, as they say.
Okay.
In entertainment news, James Franco is going to play a guy named Michael Glatz in a movie directed by Gus Van Sant. This guy Glatz had been a gay activist and then declared himself heterosexual. James Franco has played a lot of gay roles, and I don't know if he's declared himself.
He hasn't. He's been asked about it for years. Yes, Gus Van Sant is directing this movie.
And he's
this comes out of a New York Times profile by Benoit Denizet-Lewis, who does these sort of offbeat, provocative stories. Did the bisexuality story a couple of weeks ago. This story was published a few years ago about Michael Glatz, who was at XY magazine with Benoit Denizet-Lewis.
They worked together.
Yes.
So he was a big gay.
Yeah.
Anyway. I saw a couple of plays, and I've got some pictures of them. The first one was very entertaining. It's called Hellman v. McCarthy, and this was about the great literary feud. That's the woman Marcia Rod, who's playing Mary McCarthy, and you might recognize the other guy as Dick Cavett, because Mary McCarthy went on the Dick Cavett show and was asked about who's a writer that's overrated. And she says, oh, Lillian Hellman. Every word she ever wrote was a lie, including and the. Hellman, and we have another picture there, it's the great Roberta Maxwell playing her, a completely vile character in this play at least, had been watching the show and sues her, and it went on for 4 years. And it bankrupted Mary McCarthy. I don't want to give everything away because it's a very entertaining play, but it's a very odd thing, especially having Dick Cavett there, because Hellman's got a gay nurse, a gay male nurse, who says, yo, Dick Cavett, isn't he gay? I mean, this is with Cavett right there on the stage, and he says, no, he's married, and that kind of stuff. And Hellman gets to criticize Cavett as being a big bore when he never gets around to answer the question. So, but very strange. And of course, Cavett revels in being politically incorrect, which I find kind of annoying. But anyway. And then there's Aladdin, which is the 1992 Disney movie brought to the stage. Now, this is a real razzle. These are the guys playing the Jafar, the evil one, and all that kind of stuff.
Quite a contrast to Hellman v. McCarthy.
Yes. And I found this very entertaining. However, and it's written by the late Howard Ashman, who was gay, and Tim Rice, and music by Alan Menken, who's not gay, but very good music. Anyway, it's very fun. But there's a couple of things in there where one of the characters says, oh, he's been watching you from a distance, but not in a weird way, and that kind of stuff. And then there's another point where Aladdin's got a handle on a guy's leg, and they make uncomfortable jokes, and you can hear the kids in the audience laughing as they are expected to do. And I think this is put up by Thomas Schumacher, who's this big out gay guy who does all these Disney musicals. Why aren't they more sensitive? Because, after all... Because
it's the lazy,
the princess in it is a big feminist, Why? So if they can do that, why do they have to keep these fag jokes in? And that's what I think they are.
Because that is routine. It is routine. They don't even think about it. They think it is the thing to do routinely.
Well, I don't think they were thinking too hard when they put I Remember Mama together at the Judson Theater. Certainly they weren't thinking too much when they put the seats together, because everybody is pushed. There's a scene from the play. I do want to complain about the seating there. They had nice seating on the stage. There were 10 dining room tables spread around. It looked like a furniture showroom in North Carolina. But the high concept here is, let's have women over 70 play all the characters. Nothing wrong with that. Men, women, children, all that kind of stuff. But it was, I left it intermission. It was I found it insufferable. The Times liked it a lot. So you don't have to take my, I did have to leave.
Not so popular these days is RuPaul and his drag race show with GLAAD and transgender activists, because RuPaul on this show. You're not a fan of this show.
No.
I do watch this show, but they, it's very high camp, and it's very politically incorrect in use of terms like she-male and tranny and all this. Right. And
they ought to have Dick Cavett on.
Well, the trans community finally came down on this and said, this is ridiculous. This stuff is horrible. And you
RuPaul just gives it right back to them, right?
Well, Logo
Logo
put out a statement saying,
it's been going on for years.
Yes, but it's reached another boiling point. So they said, we love everybody and we look forward to being sensitive to everyone, but RuPaul is not backing down and not apologizing, not changing anything.
What does GLAAD have to say about it?
Well, GLAAD sort of acted as if they had reached a rapprochement, but the chair of the board of GLAAD said, really, there's been no real apology. There's been no real promise not to do it in the future. And there's a real debate about who gets to use these words, if anyone, and in what context. And it's all...
Because RuPaul is not transgendered. RuPaul is a drag queen.
Well, and as you've said many times, that is transgender. That is a transgression
and I don't
of
mean that flippantly.
Expectations. And so there. Well, and that's all we have time for today. So we'll continue this discussion, I'm sure, for years.
We all make mistakes.
Bye.